So I had a customer this past week. We were trying to figure out where his money would work best, maximizing efficiency of his spend, things like that. And when I started asking the questions, well, where are you spending your money on this? Where are you spending your money on that? One of the questions that came up is they weren't doing their vehicle ads with us. So I asked, where are you doing your vehicle ads? And he was doing their vehicle ads with a third-party source. I won't mention it. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. Rhymes with auto voodoo. And, but I won't mention the name. And when I researched that a little bit more, what I found out about running your ads with that particular vendor, when you run your vehicle ads with a third-party source, the main goal of that third-party source is not necessarily to push the traffic back to your website. It's to push traffic back to their website. Now, granted, your inventory is definitely listed on their website. You definitely have a presence there. But here's the rub. So when we tracked back how much they were paying, how many soft conversions they were getting, like VDP views, that kind of thing, the cost per soft conversion was about $462. Now I know what you're going to say next. Well, what about hard conversions? I'm glad I asked that. So the cost per hard conversion was approximately, I want to say $380 per hard conversion. So let me break that down for you. So let's say you get, and I haven't even gone to the price per sale. Haven't even talked about the price per sale. Generally speaking, because there was no tracking within the DMS. There was no evidence in the DMS to say which sales came from this particular third-party source. So I asked them, and there was they didn't have an analytics set up around calls. So we got that, I'm getting that set up, and then I'll add that data in later to make the phone ring. And how much was it to make the phone ring specifically? Because we all know form leads are kind of going away. Anyway, so when we got down to it, and they saw, and then I transitioned over to what our cost per sale is. So if their cost per sale, let's say they sold 3 cars from that. So that means their cost per sale is $2,000 per sale. Now think about how much you're grossing per sale for a second, and then say that out loud again. So I know that grosses are high right now because volume is low, and I know that's how it kind of works out. But if you have something eating into that particular gross, I mean, if you know that you're making $4,500 a copy, God bless you if you are. If you're making $4,500 a copy and someone just took away half of it, I mean, are you going to feel the same about that deal? So that's kind of where I'm going with this, is you really need to, it's really, really simple. And if you put the data into most CRMs, they have ROI calculators in the CRM, but you have to input the data in there. Like, how much is it costing you per lead, or, per month, or whatever it is, into your CRM. And that data is actually, it's easily trackable. It's easy to find. You don't have to do a whole lot of work. It's just inputting the figures of how much you pay for each source into the CRM, and that'll measure for you. So what's a good cost per sale? What's a good cost per soft conversion, hard conversion? Well, it freaking ain't, $400, $300, $500. That's for damn sure. But it's also, there's a lot of variables on that you have to weigh out too. So the geography, the OEM, the brand, the market, the demographics of your market. There's a lot of things to weigh out. But for this particular store that was in California, it was very high. This ROI they had on soft conversions. I would have much rather have seen it for a soft conversion, maybe $150 for a hard conversion, maybe $250. And I'm not including phone calls in that because, like I said, I didn't have that data in front of me. But for the most part, phone calls, 15 years ago, it used to cost, and I used to tape this on the phone because my guys had such a problem. That phone was so heavy or freaking something. My team used to have a problem answering phone pops. So I taped to the back of every receiver how much it cost us to make the phone ring. And it was $65 every time the phone rang. That's what I averaged it out to, because I averaged the total number of calls and then all the sources we used for phone calls, divided in half, because then we were still getting, form leads. And that's how much I said it was to make the phone ring. Nowadays, it's more like 185, 200. That's in separate instances of the one I'm speaking about that I've seen of what it costs to make the phone ring. So you need to have your team, you need to make them aware of what it costs to make that phone ring. So I used to do a really impactful sales training where we talked about handling leads, internet process. And what I started with and what I ended with is, look, your owner of your store, your executive manager, whatever, they're paying for these leads. So they're not your leads. They're his leads because you didn't pay for them. He did. And he's paying for these leads so you could essentially run your business. And your business is the business of selling cars. So that's how you have to look at it. So when you're looking at potential ROI to look at where your efficiencies or inefficiencies might lie, that's what you need to be tracking, is how much out of the gross of the sale of this vehicle am I willing to part with in order to sell this vehicle. Now, I know the first thing we all, knee-jerk reaction, well, none. You can't think about it like that. Because thinking about it like that's playing the short game. And I talked about that in another video, where if the only thing you know how to do when you go play golf is putt, you're not going to do really well. You have to play the long game strategy. Marketing, digital marketing specifically, is your long game. I'm not talking about billboards. I'm not talking about radio. I heard the other day that I had a store whose GM was insistent on still doing radio. And the demographics for where they live, for where the store was, that made zero sense. Now, there's some demographics that makes a lot of sense. Los Angeles. I would 100% do radio in Los Angeles. I would 100% do radio in Phoenix, New York City, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, those areas. Because people are going to be in their cars or they're going to be listening on their phone to podcasts, to radio. So I wouldn't do exclusively like traditional radio. I would broaden that out between like Spotify, Pandora, any other sources, Sirius XM, things like that. I would absolutely broaden out. If I were in a community or city or metro that absolutely made sense to do radio, that's what I would do radio on. But I digress. You have to make the ROI make sense. So you have to stop thinking in terms of, number one, you have to stop thinking in terms of you're going to get, a 5-pounder or a 10-pounder on every single deal. You got to stop that, because the reputation that you're building online by doing that is absolutely going to kill your long-term goals. And I have a couple of stores struggling with that right now. In 2020 and 2021, when inventory was slight and they were just jacking up and everybody was making fat grosses and, making a lot of money because they were grossing the shit out of people, they're paying for that now. They're paying for that attitude now. Their dealerships are deserts. So I would really caution you on the principle that just because you can doesn't mean you should, because that's going to really not pay off the way you think it will in the long run. Look at your efficiencies as far as your ROI on all of your lead sources. Look at them. Don't look at them in a vacuum, but don't look at them lumped together either. Look at them individually and see what your price per sale, soft and hard conversion is, and then make it make sense to the bottom line. That's all I got for this week. Happy selling.